Good afternoon, beautiful people. I am on your team and I appreciate your strength and willingness to show up when I'm going to talk about bad grades. So, what makes a D or an F painful? It can hurt because it doesn't match up with your own values. It can hurt because your self-esteem might be based on being a smart person and that can tear you down. It can hurt if you're a perfectionist, which really we don't recommend perfectionism. Instead, like a reasonable pursuit of excellence. In fact, as you know, as engineers, the recommendation typically is to prototype and test, which means, when you prototype it, it's just not done. It's not perfect. But once you get one version of it out there, you can improve it and do better. And that is a fast way to grow, but it is a painful way to grow, in my observation. So you've recognized, or you have a friend who has a D or an F midterm, or things are looking bad academically. We have a bunch of options for you, but we don't email you all the options because it would just be too much information. We can help you withdraw from a class. So you have the option to withdraw from a class by this Friday. I'm going to talk about considerations. Don't do it just yet. You can withdraw from a class in Oasis. So let's talk about the complications. So the good news is when you withdraw from a class, you get a grade of W, and nobody cares if you got a grade of W in anything except med schools. If you're applying to med school, yeah, you're going to have to explain that W. You can withdraw from the class, but if Bright Futures paid for the class, then you're going to have to pay back Bright Futures. So some people, for financial reasons, stay in the class, even if they stop attending the class and stop doing homework. But please at least let the professor know that you're safe and you're okay and you're just strategically trying to rescue your other classes. I don't work for financial aid, but it may be that if they only consider renewing your scholarship once a year, then that resources. So I'm a resource for you, and I don't love you as much as your parents love you. So it doesn't upset me as much when you're upset because I see it. I respect you, but I'm not like worried about your future at all. You all are in the honors college, you're great students, and all of us are affected by what goes on in our lives, by the person we sit next to, by the assignments, by ability to focus, ability to sleep. So it's something you might consider. Another option, like I said, is to not withdraw from the class and then retake it and file for grade forgiveness. So grade forgiveness works when you've taken a class once and then you took it a second time and the grade the second time is better. You can look up USF grade forgiveness form, and you only fill it out once you have a grade in the 2 classes, and then your GPA only includes 1 instead of both in your GPA. However, the honors college, when they calculate your GPA at graduation, they're still going to include that first grade, even if you did grade forgiveness. All right. Another thing is first-year students are especially challenged by all this because some of you guys don't have that many credits under your belt and you haven't had the tears and the setbacks that engineers encounter. I think every engineer cries during their time in college, and there's a lot of personal letdown and setback. But I think it is just a reflection of this, what I would call accelerated education that you're participating in. So do you want a professional engineer to be able to scope out what needs to be done, decide, make a needs assessment, and then implement something? Or do you think an engineer would go to their boss and their boss tells them everything to do every day, every hour? And the answer is engineers run their own stuff, but they have friends. So I'm like a friend in your life. I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to support you emotionally. More than AA holds, your emotional well-being is my number one. All right, let's talk about doing something hard. let's talk about doing something hard. So I was working on my PhD dissertation, and I was doing badly, very badly, because I was doing nothing. Like, I wanted to do something, and I would read some things, but I didn't write anything, and it was very, very sad. It was going on for months like that. My dissertation chair was really, I think, not impressed, although she kept it together and was nice. So I came up with a system that actually worked, drawing on podcasts and papers. And so I'll share with you my system just in case it might speak to you, even part of it. So my system to write the dissertation, the first thing I did is the last thing I did when I did work is I set a goal for the next dissertation assignment, like that next dissertation writing time. And that's because your mind really knows what needs to be done next after you've been working on the material. And then if you set that goal and then you walk away and you come back, it's a firm goal. It's like you told yourself you're going to do it and you show up to do it. So I definitely recommend setting a goal after you finish one chunk of time and then addressing that goal when you come back and are working on it. Additionally, I kept a log of accomplishments, or, sad progress would be another way to put it, a log of sad progress. So I would write down if I wrote 2 paragraphs or just edited stuff and really didn't write any new stuff, or made a chart or whatever. So the goal list and then the accomplishments list really helped me feel more capable, and I was able to see evidence that I'm capable of doing things. So that is actually a major human need. The self-care wellness theory that I know best, and might be the biggest one around, is called SDT, self-determination theory. And it states that humans need 3 things to thrive. That first off, humans are built to thrive, so there's no issue there. But if they don't have what they need, if they don't have the nutriments that they need to thrive, then they can flounder or feel awful or whatever. So, quick review. Humans need to feel like they are using their time and their energy appropriately, matching their own values. So if you want to be a rock star and then it's hard to do Chem E homework, like that kind of makes sense because there's a clash between your values and your interests and your lifestyle. So we like to have choice, and we need to have choice in our lives. We cannot be dictated to our entire lives. We don't do that. We don't like it, us humans. All right, the next one is competence. We have to feel competent and capable to thrive. So as you can imagine, if the only way people learned how to swim is that people drove you out to the middle of the ocean and dropped you in, nobody would learn how to swim. It would be way too much. And so the opposite is true, that a very small goal that you accomplish is a win. So when I set my goals, they were small goals. And I was able to accomplish them. Sometimes I did more than my goal. Sometimes I only did half of my goal. So another thing to keep in mind is small goals should be doable and not reach goals. You don't want reach goals all the time because it's like jumping in the ocean to learn how to swim. The last thing, the absolute number one thing humans need to be motivated and to thrive is relatedness, meaning relationships with others, belonging, having a sense of belonging, being part of a community, being a part of your family, being loved. So if you are running across a challenge in life, you can go back to those 3 concepts and try and strengthen yourself. So if you're in pain because of a physics grade of 42, you can go back and say, okay, autonomy self-check, like, is this the major I want? And if the answer is yes, keep going. And if the answer is maybe, you have the right to change your major. No, you don't have to sign on the dotted line yet. Oh man. Okay, I forgot the rest of that, but hopefully it'll come back. I have my notes here. I'm about halfway through, maybe a little more. So this Thursday, I will have time slots available. The way you get a time slot to talk with me about a D or F or withdraw is to email me and ask for it. If I was to open my schedule, it would fill with a bunch of people who are not in such an urgent situation. So I have blocked my calendar, so I know part of Thursday I'm available. Just email me your needs. We'll figure this out. National Merit Scholars may not drop classes and keep the National Merit Scholarship. So that is a really high stakes situation for national merits, and that is why we recommend a calm schedule with a buffer zone with some fat in the system so that you can handle small setbacks. Because unfortunately, in your 4 years here, you're probably going to have a breakup. You're probably going to get the flu. You're probably going to run out of gas. You know, like, that's life. It happens. And so we do have processes to support you. So in terms of your motivation, when you make choices that align with your values, you're probably strengthening your motivation. And when you make choices that do not align with your values, that can be degrading of your motivation. Certainly we all get upset with ourselves if we told ourselves, okay, I got to write this, and then we don't do it. But I would suggest if you're not doing it, I want you to cut that task into half. And if you're not doing the half task, cut that in half. And so on. Make them small tasks, and don't expect yourself to focus for more than 45 minutes is the general number that a human can focus. So some people do the Pomodoro method, which is something like 45 minutes on task and then 10 or 15 minutes off. Some of my students are addicted to video gaming, and you have every right to be addicted to video gaming, and I don't judge you. I have my own issues in life. But it's something to manage, because let's face it, back when you lived at home, your parents monitored your behavior. They could see if you were eating, they could see if you were sleeping. They asked how it's going with homework. And maybe they're not asking you how it's going with homework, or maybe they are, but it is a new environment. So again, engineering especially supports first years who want to withdraw from a class because of academic issues. I've literally never seen someone get turned down as long as they filed the petition before the semester ended. So if you wait until final grades are in, and then you file an ARC petition to withdraw from a class that just ended, that's playing the game. Like, that's just, no, that's too much. Don't do that, please. I mean, if you have to, you can, because sometimes people can't get their hands around the problem until late. So it would have to be a big problem instead of a small problem. Like some of my students have reported that their parents went through a divorce. So that would be a big problem that weighs on someone emotionally, and maybe they don't have the emotional wherewithal to file an ARC petition until after the semester ends. So that could possibly get approved. All right, so if you were to work for an employer, you would work 40 hours a week, or 50, or maybe 60. You would have to be allowed to sleep. You would have access to a bathroom, and you would be paid. So I'm going to suggest that some people are living a lifestyle that's literally illegal for an employer to provide. Like, you're stretched thin, you're not getting enough sleep, you're in pain, you know. And so we need to take that big problem, that mess of problems, and just cut it in half, and then cut it in half again until it gets to be doable. And you can ask for special consideration from your faculty. So you can approach faculty and say, the withdrawal deadline is coming up this Friday. I am wondering if it might be in my best interest to withdraw from the class. Either could you update me on what my current grade is so I can be clear, and or could you advise me if we could reasonably expect me to get the grade pulled up or not, because they've seen this 1,000 times. And then ultimately, just be honest with yourself, because sometimes professors, they don't really encourage you to withdraw, but that doesn't mean that someone's going to pass their class. Another really noble thing is people say, I'm in college, I value my education, I will give up my friendships, I will give up gym time, I will give up sleep. On the one hand, it's just wonderful that you are so passionate about your education that you're willing to give up the essentials of life. On the other hand, that's a very, very dangerous outlook. You have to sleep. If you're not sleeping, please ask your parents to come get your car, because I don't want to be driving around or walking around on campus when people aren't getting enough sleep and they're driving. You need time with your friends. You need badminton. You need to dance. I'm a much better person because I dance 3 days a week, minimum 2. I'm a much more confident person because I have experienced a bunch of things and I keep things within my competence zone. So I am competent at my job. I am not on the cutting, bleeding edge of knowledge. And I am not like bored either. Like, this is a fun challenge, trying to help people figure out their lives. So that is it for the presentation. I'm going to turn off the video in a second.